Let's talk about fashion if we can. Um, to me, that was a major part of the packaging as well for you guys, for
Yes,
you and
sir.
Ghost specifically. I feel like the Snow Beach, that was iconic moment in hip hop history. Then the
Mhm.
Wallaby Clarks. I never even seen Wallabies before until y'all started, the marble cake and dipping it and doing the app and all that.
Right.
So
Dripping like it's marble cake.
triple like it's marble cake. That's a fact. So, all right, let me ask you this: Who's your if you had a Mount Rushmore? Everybody doing these Mount Rushmores, right? If you had a Mount Rushmore of hip hop fashion icons, who would be on your Mount Rushmore of hip hop fashion icons? And then I got a follow up question, but I want to hear your answer to
It's a
that
great
first.
question.
Man, that's a serious one. Fashion. It would definitely be, Slick Rick for sure. Kane, LL.
LL, yeah.
I said LL Kane, Rick, Rakim, the Dapper Dan, to me, Rob was really like, was really, really super inspiring us, throwing the jury on, the Mercedes Benz piece, the ring, the bracelets, L with the authentic chains. To me, those were the guys that I was really checking for myself, you know what I mean? Even Heavy D, God bless his soul, you know what I mean? Heavy D was a fly big nigga, you know what I mean? I'm a big guy, so I'm watching his gig game and I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? Putting it together. But yeah, I would definitely say cats like that though for sure was really, really making you step your game up.
Heavy D was probably the first fly like big dude.
For sure.
Oh, absolutely.
For
Nobody
sure.
Have, you know what I mean? Have, Have he was always crunchy. He always had dope fits on. But like I said, the most valuable ones to me, I guess at that time was Rakim, Kane, and Rick, and L. They always I don't care if it was bucket hats. I don't care if it was good Dapper Dan, you know what I mean? The way the units was made, the colors, all of that, to me inspired a nation of us to really be able to want to get fly and take it serious. Especially, Rick with the jury. A lot of people don't probably remember that Rick is, he's British, So a lot of times he grew up around a lot of West Indians and the West Indian culture, they love jury. They love wearing chains and rings and gold teeth and all of that. So, at a young age, we was just infatuated by that and we wanted to emulate that in any way. But that's what started our gear mission. Even Run DMC can't even front on Run DMC neither. So they would definitely sit up there on the Mount Rushmore side as well. Yeah, these dudes was to me like the epitome of getting fresh.
No, that's fine. So, if I could ask a follow up
Yeah,
because
go
of
ahead.
this business too. So, I see y'all recently did the fashion show with Tommy Hilfiger. So, talk about that relationship because a lot of I would say like y'all definitely helped the blow up of Tommy Hilfiger. How did that relationship start and even like maintaining it throughout the years? Because that was 30 years later that you guys did that New York fashion show week. And so yeah, talk about that relationship as far as coming from the streets and then working with a major fashion brand.
Yeah, I think it was around the time where the Purple Tape was making his debut. You know, it just seemed like back then in the 90s, everybody was really on a creative shit, really being for the culture in a way to where it was like everybody was inspiring everybody. I don't care if it was just, you go to the West Coast, they had their style, the Dickies and everything or whatever the case may be. For us, we was, New Yorkers, we was always into clothes and, colorful stuff too, polo vests and gooses and leather bombers and, you know what I mean, hoodies, whatever it is that we wore. But we always were cats that love to shop. We love shopping, you know what I mean? Because if you look good, you feel good, and at that time when the album that came out, we was already mentioning certain things that inspired us because we was getting money. So it's like, yo, when you getting money, you know it is. First thing I'm going to do is, yo, when I get off the road or whatever, I'm going shopping. You know, I'm going to buy the stuff that I wasn't able to buy at a bulk that I'm able to get now. So a lot of things were Polo, Gucci, you know, Louis. You know, we've been wearing that back then, you know what I mean? But it was something about Tommy Hilfiger that me and Ghost love. It was almost like the cousin, the big cousin of Polo that was on the rise. So, you know, we would, you know, be rhyming and getting on the mic, and, you know, nothing was never scripted when it came to what we were talking about. We would just mention it. You know, I don't care if we mentioned Helly Hansen or whatever, or whatever the case, whatever it was, it just came off of your dome because you just felt like this is what I represent. This is the type of clothes I wear, you know. And on Tommy Hilfiger, you know, they caught on to us that, you know, they was like, okay, we see y'all mentioning our stuff, and, you know, next thing you know, we started getting calls, and I became mad cool with Tommy's brother, Andy. Andy Hilfiger, good friend of mine, still to this day. He always check on me, yo, what's up, chef? How you doing? But the clothes they were making, to me, you know, the flags, we always loved the flags, and you know, the rugbies and all of that. And, you know, going to school, if you had a mean rugby on, you could wear the same jeans times that week. And as long as you had rugbies and certain little things. So, you know, we were cats that was out there and loving to go downtown, go shop. You know, even sometimes we went boosting, you know what I mean, to keep it 100, you know. Yo, if you felt like you could Ike a shirt out of Macy's or whatever, or you like, yo, I think I could pull it, you know what I mean? And then you got cats that's showing you how they get busy with it. It's like, oh shit, yo, he just came out of there with $400 worth of rugbies or whatever. But, you know, for us, definitely gear was a part of our swag and a part of what made us be great when it came to writing rhymes. You know, you had to feel that way. You had to have on garments. And Tommy, they caught on. They, you know, then they was saying, you know, they was gifting us stuff, and, you know, it was like, all right, cool. So now we knew that people recognize us getting our money up and getting right, because remember when we first started, we was still Timberland down and jackets and, you know what I'm saying, all of that type of stuff. But once we started getting money, we had to show this side of us. And, you know, Tommy Hill was definitely one of those brands that had us open. It's like if you ain't see a low shirt, you run right over to Tommy and go see what they got over there, because they was almost like, you know, kind of like the same vibe when it came to certain things. And you know, yeah, always love gear, man. Always love gear, because if you looking like you getting it, it wasn't even about you having to have a lot of money, but you had to still look like money.
Look like money.
Look like money. That was important, especially being an artist.